I have to go back to the office next week.
Oh my god, that's happening so soon.
On Tuesday.
Oh no.
Oh my god, look at our new chairs! I forgot about the chairs! It smells like new chair in here.
Wow, look how official it looks.
New chair smell. Put your butt in it. It's so comfortable.
Hello, friends.
Hey guys, welcome. I'm Abby.
And I'm Shauna.
And this is Anxious,
And Afraid.
the podcast reporting live with new chairs.
Not really live, but pretend.
We're live right now. They won't be listening live. Hi, welcome. Welcome if it's your first time or if it's not. Welcome.
Yes, thanks for hanging out with us. We tell stories that are terrible. Usually is the thing.
Today will be no different.
Nope.
Yeah.
You know what you came here for.
You signed up for it.
That's why you keep coming back.
Yep.
Sickos.
Yeah, you sick. You sick people.
So, we have had some time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go in with the anxious stuff first, or do you want to talk about like our beach house refresh? Or
Oh, yeah, let's talk about Beach House. It was my birthday.
it was your birthday.
Yeah, it was Mother's Day.
It was my first Mother's Day.
We got to spend that with you. That was fun.
Yeah,
At the beach.
it was so perfect.
You
So
were
peaceful.
mothering all day.
I was doing my motherly job.
Because we hung out with Rylan all weekend and Roscoe. And
They were both really good, though. I thought.
yeah, they
For
did
what
great.
they are.
Roscoe is obsessed with Rylan.
It's so cute.
He wants to just kiss her little face
Boop her nose.
at all times. And she loves him, which was
She
just,
smiles every time.
it was the fucking cutest thing.
so cute.
Her heart. It's like two of the cutest things on earth love each other.
Oh, it's so precious. Yeah, that was great. That was a great time.
It was.
Thanks
because-
for having us.
Of course.
So fun.
It was a really good time. We all needed it.
For sure. Even though it rained, but it was still nice.
We thought it was going to rain the entire time, but we did get some sun.
There was moments. Yeah. We
Yeah.
still walked on the beach once, which is...
I mean, I went down there like 4 times.
You did. I skipped a couple times.
Roscoe and I actually went for a bit of a run, and he mostly just pulled me, but
He's good at that.
I felt it the next day. The next 3
I
days.
bet. Ouch. Sore.
My shins were like, "What are you doing? You don't run." Yeah.
Cool. What else? Do you want to talk about terrible things now?
Yeah, you're going to ask me what made me scared?
Yeah. So after our wonderful, peaceful trip, what were you anxious and afraid about this week?
Well, I said it a little in the beginning, but I have to return to the office next week.
It's coming up so soon.
It's next week. And actually, I guess it'll be the day that this episode drops.
That's
My
true.
little butt will be driving back to the office.
While you listen,
Know that I'm in pain.
know that we're crying in the inside because we are not home.
Not working from
Or
home.
you. I'm not quite there yet. I have a few more weeks, but
Yeah. Oh, a few weeks. That's gross.
I know, like, it's coming soon and I'm panicking about it. Like,
Her maternity leave's almost over.
I don't know how to adjust. It's going to be another huge change for me, and change
Totally.
is just hard.
It's so hard to adjust. I can't even imagine that for you.
This is the first time in over 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working at home for over 2 years.
Man, it's been the life working at home.
God, I love it so much.
So nice.
Literally dragging me kicking and screaming back to the office
Yeah,
by my hair.
same.
So I'm gonna have to load up my office chair that's covered in cat hair into my 2-door car, which is gonna be so fun.
I really wonder how long you're going to have that 2-door car. Like, how long is she going to last?
She's gonna last as long as I need her to, because she's paid off.
She's like a cockroach and she'll never die.
She'll never die. I'll just keep replacing her until she's all her parts until she's a whole new car. But hey, it's a terrible time to buy a car right now.
It is.
As 2 people that fund car loans, I can tell you.
Yeah, we can see how much you're spending.
Yeah, it's not a good time.
It's how do you do it? I don't know.
Well, what about you? What made you anxious or afraid?
Oh man, and you know how like it's rough coming home from a vacation in a sense of like you weren't ready or like
Then
you're like, oh, back to real life.
and you have stuff to do the second you get home.
Yeah,
unpack
it's like,
and
oh,
shit.
here's all the chores in front of my face that I have to do.
Yes.
And the unpacking is like never happens until like 2 weeks later.
See, Michael and I are the exact opposite. We do it the instant, like the first thing we do when we get home is we unpack and then just relax the rest of the day.
Oh, I wish. Nope. I still have mine unpacked and Chad's is scattered all through the floor. That's how we live now.
That sounds about right. I mean, you have a baby, so There's your
Yeah,
excuse.
things are a lot harder. But I've just been having a rough week. I've been overwhelmed and stressed about like returning and baby things and family things and body things, just all of the things.
Oh, so many things.
So many things. But I had therapy, which made me feel better.
Good.
Still doing that. And then I was going to say, oh yeah, of course. I have this baby right now and she's 3 months. Oh my gosh, 3 months.
Oh!
And we're experiencing this terrible, stupid shortage of baby formula in the US.
So bad.
And the shelves are just empty. Like, it's just, they're becoming so bare. And it's terrifying because what are babies going to eat? Like,
I know.
And I don't know how it's not a national emergency or how we're not getting like more panically, like, because we're panic buying.
Yeah. I mean, everyone probably is. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you can give they don't have alternatives.
No.
So
What are we
bad.
gonna do?
I know. I can totally understand the panic.
Totally panic. It's so stupid. I hate that we even have to deal with this, but we are, and so I'm panicking about that
I'm sorry.
because they go through it so fast too. Like, a can doesn't last you very long. I mean, it
No.
depends on the size, obviously, but
Because they just keep eating.
yeah.
It's like they need it every day. What?
And if they spit it up, it's hurtful. And
Oh, God, that would be so
if
insulting.
they waste like the last 2 ounces and won't drink the rest of that bottle, I'm like, no.
You don't know what this means to me.
It hurts so bad.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I really hope that shortage works out soon.
Yeah.
It's so
I
stressful.
think we'll be okay. I hope we can wait through it, but what the fuck are we doing here?
I don't
What the fuck is happening?
Who's running things? Well, what else do we have to talk about? Oh, I was just gonna you know how I fucked up last weekend or last episode, I didn't shout out who suggested Norman the doll, and it was
Oh.
Sky.
Sky.
Hey,
Our friend
Sky. In New Zealand.
Hi, Sky.
New Zealand? I can't do it. But yes, thank you for your suggestion. She's like, don't shut me out. And I was like, watch me.
Watch me. I'm gonna do it anyway.
Don't tell me what to do. I'll do the opposite. But yes, thank you for your suggestion. We always love those.
Hey, it made a great
It
episode.
really did. So fun.
So thank you.
Do we have anything else?
I don't think so. Are we ready?
No.
Oh.
Such a I'm nervous for today.
Why? Oh no, I didn't ask what topic or
You
like
didn't.
genre, and I'm scared now.
I didn't tell you either.
Oh no, is this gonna be a rough one?
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough.
Oh man, I wasn't prepared for rough.
So I feel like the last couple of episodes, I've kind of done a couple softball pitches to get us back into the swing of things.
Softball pitches, okay.
Nothing too hard, you know. But today we are going to go hard.
Oh no.
Because today we will be covering a case that is rather infamous and notorious in the good old state of Oregon.
Ooh, you're doing an Oregon one. Yeah.
So I don't think there's a person who lives here that hasn't heard of this case or this individual. And I'm sure
Okay.
that you know this case, Shauna.
Okay, so it's not the most famous one.
No, it's pretty famous.
Wait, okay, just tell me.
No, I'm saying like everyone's heard of it. is what I'm
Oh,
saying.
I thought you were saying the opposite.
No,
Okay, then
yeah.
I have an idea what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
I'm scared.
Okay, so I hope you're ready to become enraged, disgusted, and downright emotional. Because today we will be covering the case of Diane Downs.
I knew it.
Oh, Diane Downs. Okay.
Man, she is our famous crazy lady.
We are known for her,
Wow. Yep.
unfortunately.
Yeah, she's the famous one around here.
Yeah, so it's a big one, it's a heavy one.
It is heavy.
It's heavy.
Oh.
So if you are already familiar with the case, then you'll know we're going to be discussing violence against children,
Yes.
as well as sexual assault, which are super hard topics to talk about, but you know, that's your heads up and your warning. So for my main source material today, I read a book. I was actually reading it at the coast while we were there.
Oh, you sneak.
Sly dog. I read a book called Small Sacrifices by the queen of true crime, Anne Rule.
Right. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, she's
We even
fantastic.
have a famous book. Yes, of course.
Yep,
Okay. Wow.
everyone knows that book.
Yep.
It's excellent, 5 stars. I really did enjoy it. I remember my mom reading that book when I was a kid.
That's right.
She had the paperback, and my sister Katie read it too, and that's kind of where her love for true crime started. So, it's a case that kind of hits close.
Wild.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Things are going to feel very personal and weird for us, considering this crime happened in our hometown.
Oh my gosh, how did I forget that detail? Like, it's...
I'm going to be
speechless.
mentioning places that we have been to.
Ew.
Roads that we have driven down.
Oh my God, chills.
It was just a very wild experience.
You're
for
totally
me.
right. I don't know how I forgot that. It's been a while since I've listened to one of these episodes.
Right.
So you're going to remind me of a lot.
Yeah.
But
I mean, just like reading it and like hearing the street names or like the places. And I'm like, holy shit.
Gives me chills.
I had to like, oh, it's just so creepy. Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Like literally, we are in the town.
We live here. This is where it happened.
Yep. Okay.
Fucking hell. Okay. So we have a lot of material to cover, so we got to get started.
Okay.
Our story begins on May 19th, 1983. The day we are recording is May 14th, so that's a little spooky, and I swear I didn't do it on purpose.
Wait, so what is Tuesday? Is Tuesday the 19th?
No, I think Tuesday's
18th?
It's going to be a few days after this episode comes out that the anniversary of the event happens, but like it's so close, it's weird.
That is weird.
Yeah. Okay, so on May 19th, 1983, in the small town of Springfield, Oregon, which is where we all have grown up and lived for a good portion of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Simpsons.
Yep, and The Simpsons. An unspeakable tragedy occurred. It was nearing 10:30 in the evening when a red Nissan Pulsar car pulled up to the curb of the emergency room at Mackenzie Willamette Hospital. Isn't this already weird?
I almost gave birth there, but I didn't.
I've been to that hospital so many times.
Yeah, I've been
I can
to
just
that ER.
picture it.
Oh, okay.
So the red car quickly parked and the driver began laying on the horn. 2 nurses ran outside to help, assuming they would find someone having a heart attack or stroke, which wasn't uncommon for them. Mm-hmm. But when they raced to the shiny red car, they saw a slender, blonde young woman standing outside of it. She didn't look hysterical or emotionally upset. She wasn't crying, and the nurses quickly asked her what was going on. And they weren't prepared for the answer.
No.
The woman said, "Somebody just shot my kids." The stunned nurses quickly recovered and snapped into action. In the back seat of the car, they saw a young girl limp and slumped on the seat. She was wearing maroon corduroy pants and a multicolored t-shirt that was soaked in blood.
Oh.
The young girl was quickly removed and carried into the hospital, where Code 4 was already being called. The other nurse saw a second child also laying in the back. This was a little boy with bright blonde hair. He couldn't have been more than 3 years old. The nurse struggled to bend the front seat forward to get to him and heard the blonde woman tell her where the lever was. Why she wasn't helping, that's also weird to me. A doctor arrived and scooped up the little boy to race him inside, but noticed as he leaned over to grab the boy that there was another child in the car. Mm-hmm. A little girl curled up on the floor on the front passenger side. Oh. Her small body had been covered up with a dark postal worker's jacket. The nurse quickly picked up the limp form and ran like hell to the ER, determined to save her. The ER was already abuzz with doctors and nurses, all rushing to the ER to assist with the emergency. The young blonde woman, who they assumed was the mother, had followed the doctors to where the children were already being worked on. Some of the staff assumed she was in shock since she just sat there.
Emotionless.
Yeah, staring at them, no tears in her eyes.
Yeah. They would be hysterical. I would be hysterical.
Hysterical, right?
I would probably not be able to breathe. Like
From
crying
crying
so hard and screaming.
Right. So they ushered her out of the room because they're like, oh, she must be in shock.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't have to see the awfulness of the situation. And she sat on an empty gurney across from the nurse's station to wait. The nurse who carried in the last child, found in the front of the car, worked on her madly, trying to clear the blood from her throat, but it was of no use. The blood in her throat had already coagulated, and the heart monitor showed a flat line.
Yikes.
One of the doctors gently lifted the girl and found 2 bullet holes in her back. One over the right shoulder blade and one below the left shoulder blade. He gently convinced the nurse that there was nothing that they could do for the young girl. She had been dead on arrival.
That's so sad. How old was she?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
I think she was 6.
Poor baby.
I can't even imagine those poor medical staff, too. I mean, just the trauma of, like,
You're
going through
looking
that.
at a dead girl. Like, oh my God.
A child
and
that's
you
been
tried to
shot.
save.
Like,
oh my God.
that's not like, yeah, it's not like she choked on something and like, it's like a traumatizing wound. Like, ugh.
Yeah, that's, how do you like go home after that?
I don't know. I mean, the stuff that they have to deal with on a normal basis would.
I can't imagine.
Ugh. So the hospital staff now turned all of their efforts on the 2 remaining children who were still alive, but barely. Mm-hmm. The other little girl was also motionless on the table. To an untrained eye, she already looked dead. She had sustained 2 gunshots from a small caliber weapon to the left side of her chest. One of the bullets had come out her back, but the other still remained inside of her. Mm. She also had a through-and-through bullet hole near the base of her left thumb.
Ooh.
Her skin was turning blue, and her pupils didn't respond to light.
Oh, that's
she
scary.
was bleeding out on the table.
Oh my God.
But the medical staff refused to let her go, even after her heart stopped beating. One of her lungs had filled with blood, and the other had collapsed. But after the heroic efforts of the medical staff that night, they were able to bring the girl back from literal death.
Wow. That's amazing.
Truly, she like literally died.
Wow.
Once they got her stable enough, she was rushed to surgery. The little boy was more responsive than the girl had been, but he was also in dire straits. Mm-hmm. He had blood in his left lung and a bullet hole just to the right of his spinal column.
Jesus.
The doctor noted black powder residue around the bullet wound and knew that this boy had basically been shot point blank.
Close range. Mm-hmm. Yep.
They wondered how anyone could be so cruel.
Ew, shooting kids.
Point blank range.
Gross.
Because that powder isn't left if it's far away. It's only if it's right up on them.
Yeah, that's even grosser.
The doctors would later find a .22 slug still caught in the children's clothing. The little boy would need surgery, and the doctors knew there was a good chance the bullet had done damage to the boy's spine. He was in danger of being paralyzed from the chest down.
Oh, chest down.
Back at the nurse's station, a nurse named Judy was left with the strangely emotionless mother. It'd be weird to be left with her. Oh. She introduced herself as Elizabeth Downs, but she went by her middle name, Diane. Mm-hmm. Her children were Christy Ann, who was 8. She had miraculously survived. Cheryl Lynn was 7. She had sadly passed. Mm-hmm. And there was 3-year-old Stephen, who went by Danny, and he was only 3. Diane was urging the nurse to call the police, insisting there was a crazy man out there on the loose with a gun, running around shooting innocent people. The police were quickly dispatched to the hospital, but in the meantime, Judy noticed that Diane was also injured. Her left arm was wrapped up in a beach towel, and once it was removed, Judy saw a bullet wound on the outer surface of Diane's arm, between her wrist and elbow.
That's right.
Judy asked Diane what happened, and she replied, "We went out towards Marcola to see a friend. We were headed back, driving along Old Marcola Road." It's so weird.
That's so weird.
My kids were laughing and talking. I was laughing at something Danny said and talking to Christy. There was this man standing in the middle of the road. He looked like he needed help. I stopped the car and got out. He wanted my keys. He just reached in through the window and shot my kids. It's a terrible thing to be laughing one minute and then have something like this happen to you.
Yikes.
Judy didn't know what to say, so she bandaged her up the best she could and allowed Diane to call her parents.
Diane, did you say what time of day this was?
It's at night, 10:30.
It's at 10:30 at night. Mm-hmm. I see. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Or that's when she pulled in, at least.
Okay, so it's nighttime.
I don't know why I always pictured this happening in the daytime. Or the crime happening in the day. Like, every time I kind
of always pictured evening time, but, like, still light out.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's no sun at that point.
Yeah, it's dark. So Diane calls her parents, and she blurted into the phone, "He shot the kids. He shot me, too." Her parents would quickly arrive at the hospital in a state of shock. Diane's mother, Willa Dean, had just babysat the kids that afternoon, and everything had been fine. Nobody seemed to be able to come to grips with the horror of the situation.
That's sad if you, were spending the whole day with the kids and then all of a sudden
Their
they're,
grandparents.
Shot. That's sad. Ugh.
8 minutes after the call was placed to the police, an officer was at the hospital, being scolded by Diane for not getting there fast enough. She repeated her story of what happened to the officer, but now remembered that the children hadn't actually been awake at all. They had been asleep when she got out of her car in the middle of the road to talk to a stranger. He had demanded her car, and she refused. And then the man shot the kids and then her.
Wait, sorry. So I left for like a hot second.
Did you leave your body?
I left my body for a hot second, and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Did you say that Diane was now saying that she's asleep in the car?
At first she said she's saying her kids were asleep.
Oh, okay.
Because at first she said they were all talking and laughing.
I see.
And now she's changed it. She's like, actually the kids were asleep.
Okay, because it's nighttime, they're in the car, they're all asleep. I get it, okay.
When she stopped the car.
I understand now.
Okay.
I'm back.
I'm back in your body.
Back in my body. I'm listening to you, I promise.
Listen to this traumatic story, damn it. Okay, so Diane told the officer, I wasn't going to let him have my new car. I just bought it. Okay.
Interesting detail.
Yep. The officer asked Diane if she would be willing to accompany him to the crime scene so they could find out exactly where it had happened. Mm-hmm. She complained about her arm, but agreed there was nothing she could do to help by sitting at the hospital. One of the nurses approached her before she left and gently told her the children were in very serious condition and one may not be alive when she returned. I mean, Cheryl was already gone at this point, but I don't think Diane had officially been told.
I see.
So Diane nodded and went outside with the officer, examining her car and remarking, I hope my car's okay. Does it have any bullet holes in it?
That'd be the last thing I'm thinking about, even if I just bought that car.
Yeah, again, it's just like a strange thing to be worried about when your children were just shot multiple times. So Diane and the officer headed to the scene under Diane's direction. As they drove over Hayden Bridge, weird, Diane, just
everything's
place.
Weird.
Every place. Diane remarked that this is where Christy had stopped choking, and the officer couldn't help but shudder at the admission.
Ew.
They continued driving and turned onto Old Mohawk Road, which is kind of a back road that runs parallel with Marcola Road, which is more of the main road. So they were definitely entering a more rural area. Mm-hmm. The old road is also parallel with the Mohawk River. So Diane directed the officer to stop near the end of the old Mohawk Road before it reconnected with Marcola Road. It was very narrow at this point, and it was very close to the river. Already there were police in the area with a search dog hunting for the man Diane claimed attacked them. Mm-hmm. Soon, Diane complained of her arm, hurting her, though, and she asked to be taken back to the hospital. When they returned, Diane was informed that Cheryl didn't make it and that she had been dead on arrival. Diane quickly suppressed her emotion and remained stoic. The detectives who had now arrived at the hospital watched this exchange with interest. They noted the mother seemed to laugh inappropriately at times and had a flat affect, but they initially chalked that up to Diane being in shock and not accepting that her child had died.
Yeah. There's a fine line where you don't want to judge too hard on people's reactions. We totally get it.
Yeah, because everyone's going to react differently. Mm-hmm. She just continues to react weird. Yeah. So the doctor then told Diane that Christy was in critical condition and in surgery. Danny was more stable, and the doctor explained how the bullet had entered very near his spine. Diane replied, "You mean it missed his heart?" And he said, "Yes."
Ew.
So that could be taken two very different ways.
Uh-huh.
But if you know how it ends, it's very creepy. So soon after 1 a.m., Diane is questioned by two detectives who become rather astounded at the number of words pouring out of Diane's mouth. Mm-hmm. She had this habit of talking very fast, barely pausing to take a breath. The detectives described it as word vomit and could barely get a word in edgewise. You can watch interviews and stuff with her. She just...
Oh, and I have, and it's weird, and it's
motor
creepy.
mouth.
Yeah.
She just keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
She once again relayed her story, but this time with more detail. Diane explained that she had found a newspaper clipping about a horse for adoption and immediately thought of her friend Heather, who was in the market for a horse. Heather lived out in the country and didn't have a phone, so Diane decided to load up her 3 kids in the car and drive to Heather's place on Sunderman Road. They visited for about 20 minutes. Heather had already gotten a horse, and the kids played with it while they were there. Then the family left, and Diane decided she wanted to do some nighttime sightseeing in the country in the dark.
With no lights, probably in the rural area.
Yeah, it's fucking dark out there. There's not street lamps.
Nope.
It's pitch black. But she soon realized that the kids had fallen asleep and started to head back towards Springfield when she saw the man in the middle of the road. She described the attacker as a white male in his late 20s, about 5'9", 170 pounds, with dark, bushy hair and stubble on his face, wearing Levi jeans, a light-colored t-shirt, and a denim jacket. Diane explained she thought he needed help, so she stopped the car, took the keys out of the ignition, and got out of the car and walked over.
No. Sorry. I would never get out of my car to approach a stranger in the road in the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere.
With 3 small children.
Yep.
So he jogs over to her and she asks, "What's the problem?" And he says, "I want your car." And she said, "You've got to be kidding me."
I just bought it.
"I just got it." "You've got to be kidding me." And then he shoved her back towards the back of the car. The next moment, he was leaning into the driver's side door, firing shots at her children.
Ugh.
Diane said she then pretended to throw her car keys into the brush,
Right.
infuriating the man, who fired the gun at her twice, missing once and then hitting her in the arm. She said she hit and kicked the man and then jumped into her car and drove away. The detectives asked her if she had seen the gun, and she said that she couldn't describe it. They asked if she owned any firearms, and Diane replied that yes, she owned a .22 rifle, and it was in her closet at home. She lived off of Q Street in Springfield. She also remembered that she had a .38 pistol she kept locked in the trunk of her car. Diane readily gave the detectives permission to search her home, appearing totally cooperative. She explained to them that she had just moved to Oregon on Easter Sunday from Chandler, Arizona, where she had been a postal worker. Her father was the postmaster of Springfield, and her parents had convinced her to move to Oregon so her kids could spend more time with their grandparents. Diane had gotten a job at the Cottage Grove post office and seemed to be doing really well there. The detectives talked to Diane until 3 a.m. and then left to search her duplex on Q Street. In the meantime, her arm was treated. It was broken, but there was no tendon or nerve damage. She would need surgery in a week to strengthen it and needed to stay at the hospital for a couple of days, which she was really not happy about. I mean, wouldn't you want to stay there anyway to be with your kids?
Yeah, if they had to be there.
Oh, sorry, Roscoe's here if you heard him.
Yeah, he's groaning.
He doesn't like this story.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. Okay, so as she was being treated, Diane asked the doctor not to tell her father about the large rose tattoo on the back of her left shoulder. It had the name Nick written below it.
Diane had this tattoo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's like, "Okay, yeah, I don't care, lady. I don't care about your tattoo." Back at the duplex, the detectives found a bare home full of unpacked boxes, even though they had moved in a couple of months ago. There was a TV and a single chair in front of it, and 4 framed photos sat on top of the television. 2 of them were of just Diane, and the other 2 were of a man with a dark beard.
Okay, wow, that's creepy. I did not realize that her home was that creepy.
It's creepy.
Like you just said, a TV and a chair close to the TV, which is creepy.
Just one chair.
Ew. And then there's like randomly 4 framed pictures of
Herself.
everyone but her kids.
2 of
Yeah,
herself. Who puts up
Of just herself.
of yourself. You live there alone with your kids and you put framed photos of yourself.
No.
So weird. And then 2 other photos of
A dude.
a man with a dark beard.
Okay. Soups creeps.
Yeah. So the detectives wondered if this was the Nick they had heard about on Diane's tattoo.
Got it.
Notably, there was no framed photos of the children out. The detectives also found a brass unicorn statuette, which had been engraved at the base. It read, "Christy, Cheryl, Danny, I love you, Mom, May 13th, 1983, 6 days prior.
So, okay, so we're in 1983,
Yeah.
and that date was just 6 days before this happened.
Yeah, with this engraved unicorn.
With all of her kids' names.
That says, I love you, Mom.
Is it supposed to be like some weird...
Like a gift to them. I guess she got it for them.
Oh.
To show how much she loved her children. So the detectives remembered that Diane kept mentioning how she shouldn't have bought the unicorn. And they're like, oh, this is that unicorn she was talking about. And they pondered this as they continued to search the duplex. They noticed there was almost no food in the home and found only a couple of moldy cans in the fridge. Upstairs, they found the bedrooms. They found the bedrooms upstairs. And interestingly, Diane's room looked neatly unpacked, featuring a king-size waterbed, hot, and a flowery bedspread and matching pillows. The others weren't unpacked, but Diane's was.
Interesting.
The detective searched her closet and found the .22 Glenfield rifle she said would be there. Mm-hmm. It was loaded but dusty and clearly hadn't been used in a while. They unloaded the ammo and bagged everything as evidence. They also found Diane's diary, which she told them would be there as well. Inside, they found several unmailed letters, all made out to the mysterious Nick. The detectives made copies of all of the contents before handing the diary back to Diane. The next day, the detective spoke to Steve Downs, Diane's ex-husband, who had flown in from Arizona to be with his injured children. They asked him if Diane owned any firearms, and he said yes. She had a .22 rifle and a .38 revolver, just like she had said.
Right.
But she also had a .22 Ruger Mark IV 9-shot semi-automatic pistol. Ugh. The detective tried to keep his face neutral with this new info. Diane had interesting left out that she owned a .22 pistol. Mm-hmm. It seemed that an already convoluted case was about to get more complicated, and the detectives began taking a closer look into Diane's past. Mm-hmm. But before we go there, let's just take a quick break. Back for more trauma bonding.
Trauma bonding. That's what we're doing.
That's what we do every time. All right, let's dig into Diane's past, shall we?
Okay.
Elizabeth Diane Fredrickson was born on August 7th, 1955, making her 27 years old at the time of the attack. She's also so young.
Yeah, that is young.
Her parents were Wes and Willadine. Willadine's kind of a cute name, I gotta say.
Wes and Willadine, both W's. That's cute.
Fredrickson. They lived in Phoenix, Arizona. Willadine would have another 4 children after Diane, bringing her total to 5. The family belonged to the fundamentalist Southern Baptist Church and considered themselves a moralistic, conservative family. Basically, the idealistic family of the 50s and 60s.
Sure.
But Diane didn't look back on her childhood fondly. She saw her father as suffocating and impossibly strict, and her mother never stuck up for the kids and always sided with Wes.
Interesting.
She hated babysitting her siblings and resented not being able to punish them when they were bad.
Because she was the oldest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Diane remembers being very lonely as a kid, calling herself an ugly duckling. She had no friends at school and chose to read instead. Diane was a very smart child and tested very high on IQ tests, but it did little for her in the popularity department. Because her dad was so strict, Diane wasn't allowed to dress with the times, which at that point was like mini skirts, go-go boots. Mm-hmm. She had to wear like long skirts, just like not fashionable.
Can't show some skin.
Can't show those knees. So when Diane was 12, her father was working for the post office and her mom got a job there as well, which meant that Willadine was now working in the afternoon and the kids would be left with Wes. It was during this time that Diane claims she was sexually abused by her father. And when this happened, Diane said she would cope by blanking out. She said that the abuse stopped after she and her father were driving in a car alone together, and her father made her take her shirt off. He was then suddenly pulled over by an officer who saw Diane quickly rebuttoning her shirt and asked if everything was okay.
Wow.
She lied and said yes, and the officer pulled her father aside and said something to him that seemed to upset him for the rest of the drive. Diane claimed he never abused her again after that.
Interesting. That's sad.
It is. I have a lot of complicated feelings around it because I feel you should always believe victims 100%.
Yeah, but maybe that's like not the truth.
It's just that Diane has a very complicated relationship with the truth. You'll come to find
truth. Yeah, she's. I'm not sure I would trust anything that comes out of her mouth.
I know, and her father denied. Of course, he denied he didn't touch her in later years. I've also seen reports that Diane recanted these claims later on in life, but I couldn't find a source that seemed like 100% sure. So I just don't know.
Maybe he was
either
like
way.
the sweetest dude ever.
Could have been, or he could have molested her. We don't know.
It's very possible because it sadly happens too often.
Yeah, and it fucks people up, and she's fucked up. So, maybe, I'm not sure if that happened, but if it did, terrible and awful.
Yeah.
That would damage anyone's psyche. Let's see. But I think it's fair to say that Diane had a strained relationship at times with her parents. Soon after this, Diane stopped being the quiet wallflower and became an almost compulsive talker, a trait that would follow her into adulthood. She also started to develop, and the boys took notice. When she was 15, Diane met Steve Downs at their high school. He was only 7 months older, and he had like a real swagger and confidence to him that really drew the ladies in.
Sure.
They started dating, and Diane's parents did not like him at all. So, of course, Diane only fell harder for him. The pair became sexually involved when Diane was 16, and they stayed together even after graduating high school. From there, Steve did a stint in the Navy, and Diane applied and was accepted to Pacific Coast Baptist Bible College, where she hoped to become a Christian missionary and then studied to become a doctor. The lofty goals. But it was not to be. She only lasted 2 semesters before getting kicked out of school for promiscuity.
I'm sorry, but what's that?
She got in trouble for doing naughty things with the boys.
And she got caught?
I guess she said somebody tattled on her, but she was...
Because it's a Christian school,
Yeah.
so you can't be with the boys.
So you can't be sleeping around.
Oh my God, okay.
Jesus forbids.
Jesus forbids.
He said, get out of my school. You
Get out of my
harlot.
school, you kissed. Bye.
Tiny harlot. So she gets kicked out.
Roscoe doesn't approve.
He's a prude. She's also still with Steve at this time, just kind of fooling around on him.
Oh.
So she moved back home with her parents, but hated how controlling her father was. When Diane got really stressed out, she would rake her long nails down her face and cheeks, leaving angry red marks.
Did you do this to her own face?
Yeah, she would just claw her face.
Ouch.
When she was stressed out.
Ouch.
But soon, Steve was out of the Navy, and Diane spent all of her free time with him. Just after she turned 18... God damn it, Roscoe. Just after she turned 18, Diane didn't come home after a date with Steve, and her father showed up with a gun, telling Steve to either bring Diane back home or marry her. They got married.
Okay, Jesus.
It's literally a shotgun wedding, except for she's not pregnant. They got married a week later, November 13th.
Wow, damn.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'll marry her.
See you next weekend.
Yeah. Hey, Pops. The dad's probably like, well, that backfired. Hoping he would fuck off. So yes, they get married November 13th, 1973 by the Justice of the Peace. Sadly, the honeymoon phase was quickly over. Diane said Steve changed right after they got married. Okay, so this is so bad. She said 2 weeks after the wedding, Steve told Diane he had a date with another girl and that he had to go because he had made the date before they got married. He even asked Diane to iron his pants for the date, and she did.
What, this is true?
Yeah, it's so fucking weird.
No, wait. No.
Yeah.
He went on a date with another girl and said, I have to because I promised this. And we had a really quick wedding. So, I met... Oh, my God.
Obligations. What are you going to do?
That's insane.
She's like,
What is their logic?
I don't know.
And then she irons the pants for him?
Yeah.
I would be pissed off and be like, you just married me. You
I'm supposed to be wearing white, and you have these white. I guess he had these white pants on, and she had to iron them. And he
white
came
pants.
home. Yeah, they were
The
white
70s.
pants. Oh yeah, is the John Travolta look?
Oh no,
Boogie Nights. Yeah, she said that he arrived home late, but I'm pretty sure he slept with this girl. So
oh my gosh, what a dick move!
fucking hell,
Stupid.
Diane was, of course, very disappointed in her relationship with Steve. She was always looking for unconditional love and attention, and Steve was not cutting it. She decided then that even though Steve had wanted to wait a couple of years to have children, because they're in their teens still, mind you, I think he's like 19, she decided that she needed some love right now. So she secretly threw away her birth control pills. And a month later, she was pregnant.
A month? It only took one
Girl,
time.
she's so fertile.
She's so fucking fertile.
And she did not tell Steve.
Oh, that's a shitty move, girl. You don't do that shit.
I know, it's so
She's
sneaky.
like, oh, she gives women a bad freaking name.
That's so twisted.
That's so manipulative.
He eventually noticed her belly growing and became angry with Diane for tricking him, but she didn't care. She said she was in love with her baby. Not that she loved it, but that she was in love with it. Which is kind of strange.
She specified that?
Phrasing, yeah.
What?
It's weird, right? That's a weird way to put it. Like, I'm in love with Rylan.
I'm in love with her, but I don't love her. What? No, that doesn't.
Well, not that she doesn't love her, but instead of saying like, I love her, she's like, I'm in love with her.
I'm in love with her.
It's just a weird phrasing.
I guess, but this woman likes to use her body as... Okay, continue.
Okay. After her first baby, Christy, was born, Diane said she had finally found the unconditional love she had been searching for. However, Diane and Steve continued to have a very rocky marriage. There was infidelity and physical abuse. Steve admitted to beating Diane at times when he lost his temper. Mm-hmm. Diane also soon found that even her baby Christy wasn't making her happy anymore. She had ambitions and goals, and this baby was holding her back. Mm-hmm. When Christy was only 6 months old, Diane up and joined the Air Force, leaving Steve to care for their infant child.
What?
How fuck?
I cannot imagine doing that.
Leaving your 6-month-old?
No, I can't even leave her at 4 months to go back to work.
To record this podcast.
And that's an extra month. People usually only get 3 or less.
So apparently living in barracks full of other women wasn't all it cracked up to be. And Diane washed out after 3 weeks. She was discharged for the reason being that she had developed terrible blisters, which is a new one for me. I didn't know that you could get out by having bad blisters.
Did she have to prove it? Did she have to show the blisters?
Oh, probably.
Right?
I mean,
interesting.
I guess Steve was also calling, because she was calling him like, I hate this, I don't want to do it. So he was calling her like supervisor, whatever, to be like,
trying to get her out.
Yeah, so maybe, who knows, maybe they made that up to get her out, but that's a weird one. So Diane went back home to her unstable marriage and child, moving between living with Steve and staying with her parents. The marriage was as unhealthy as ever when Diane decided she needed more unconditional love in her life.
I know it's going to fix it. I want
to
get pregnant again and have another baby because I'm tired of the first one.
That one's, I've run out of love, or it's run out of love. We got to get a new one. So, and she wasn't getting this from Steve, so she gets sneaky pregnant again.
Sneaky pregnant again?
Yeah. If there's one thing we all know about Diane Downs for certain, is that she loved being pregnant and all the attention it brought with it.
Yeah.
Steve was horrified, knowing he could barely support the family as it was, and even though Diane liked to paint herself as a loving mother, witness accounts tell a different story. Mm-hmm. And things did not get any better after little Cheryl Lynn was born. If you can believe it, having more kids did not solve her problems. Mm-mm. Cheryl was a very colicky baby, and she cried constantly.
That's rough.
Yeah, so not exactly the magical experience Diane had assumed it would be. Mm-hmm. After Cheryl was born, Steve Downs, who was only 21, decided to get the snip snip. No more babies from him. Except for the procedure failed, and Diane got pregnant again.
Poor Steve.
She's more more fertile than the fucking crescent.
Jesus, he even tried to snip his own junk, and he still shot.
Both of them
positives.
are fertile, apparently.
Wow.
However, the couple decided that they just couldn't handle any more mouths to feed, and Diane had an abortion. Then in 1977, she left Steve, took the kids to live with her sister, and got a job as a concrete truck driver. Sadly, this too would be short-lived when Diane was raped by her boss after only a month on the job.
That's fucked.
It's super fucked. From what I could tell, the rape went unreported and Diane went back to Steve.
That sucks. Nobody deserves that.
No.
Nobody does.
No, it's terrible. In 1978, they were both working for a mobile home company in Mesa, Arizona, when Diane decided that she once again wanted to be pregnant.
I don't understand the logic, this bitch.
But Steve was now sterile after having the vasectomy redone.
So he fixed the first one.
Yeah, he went back.
Second snip.
He got a double snip.
A double snip.
A double snipperoo. So, what's a girl to do? Well, she literally starts scoping out the men from her job, studying them as you would a stud horse.
Ew, like who's going to have like the best qualities?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this is a quote from her. I watched the people I worked with. I picked someone that was attractive, healthy, not abusive of drugs or alcohol, had strong bone structure, the whole bit. A good specimen. It was really clinical.
A good specimen? It was only clinical.
So fucked up, Diane.
So crazy.
Diane would have 3 affairs with the men at her job, but ultimately picked a man boy named Russ Phillips, who was only 19. She was 23 at this point.
Of course.
She said she waited for the time in her cycle when she knew she would get pregnant, and then she seduced Russ. They only had sex once.
See, bitches, it doesn't say. Oh, man. Okay.
Steve actually discovered them. It was an ugly scene. He beat Diane.
In the act?
Or after it.
Okay.
So he beats her, which is unacceptable.
Also not what you should do.
And not helpful.
No.
But too late. Diane got pregnant again.
Man.
She makes it look really easy.
Yeah, she doesn't deserve fucking kids. And
God, some people have to try so hard, and she's just like, once and done.
And then she doesn't even like him after 6 months.
I know.
Stupid.
So Steve knew the baby wasn't his. But when Stephen Daniel Downs was born in December 1979, Steve fell in love with the blonde-haired little boy and decided to raise him as his own.
Aw, okay. There's so many feelings.
I know.
I'm trying to process this.
This is some complicated people we're dealing with.
Yeah, because he's named after the guy, but it's not his biological kid.
No, they named him after. Yeah, you're right. No, they named him after her husband.
Right, which is not his biological kid.
Right.
Which is a little weird.
Right. Shockingly, however, a third baby did not magically fix things for Diane.
It's not third time's the charm.
No. In fact, her patience grew even thinner with her children, and she would often lash out at them, pinching hard enough to leave bruises, slapping, spanking them. She shook them. She yelled at them. She pulled their hair.
No.
Her children lived in fear of Diane's emotions.
Sad.
Sometimes she was fun and would buy them gifts, and then in the blink of an eye, she would switch and become enraged. The children never really felt safe or secure with her.
No.
So Diane was once again unhappy and looking for something to fill
Nobody
the
loves
literal
me.
void inside of her. She found a literal solution when she learned about becoming a surrogate mother.
I can't. Okay.
Not only would she be pregnant again, her absolute favy fave.
Baby fave.
Baby fave. Baby fave. But they would pay her $10,000 for it. That's a win-win.
Hey.
She's like, I get to be pregnant and paid. Hell yes.
And I give it away. Perfect situation.
Yep. I won't have to take care of it. Sign me up. She submitted her application to the clinic and lied about some of her past histories, surpassing the first barriers to getting into the program. But psychological testing came next, and Diane's profile threw up some red flags.
Yikes.
Although she did show very high levels of intelligence, one psychologist said, quote, This individual has poor ability to express anger in a modulated fashion and tends to have poor behavioral controls. Despite a somewhat flamboyant facade, this woman tends to be shy, timid, and retiring. It was also said that she appeared to be able to shut off her emotions at will, like flipping a light switch.
Yeah.
They found that she was showing signs of psychopathy, but Diane was otherwise a great, physically healthy, and attractive candidate. Mm-hmm. So they found another doctor to clear her, and Diane was set to become a surrogate mother. Now she just had to wait for a willing candidate. Great. By now, it was 1980, and Diane was working for the post office as a letter carrier in Chandler, Arizona. Her marriage to Steve officially ended that year as well, ended that year as well, and the pair divorced. Mm-hmm. But, Diane was never lonely for long. Men came in and out of her life like a revolving door. Mm-hmm. She often pawned the kids off on a babysitter. Russ, her baby daddy that she did, the young guy, the dad to Danny, he was still in the picture. He adored his son, so he would willingly babysit, although Diane told him he wasn't allowed to see other women or drink alcohol because maybe someday she would want to marry him.
Maybe.
But she never had any intentions of marrying him.
No way.
She was just keeping him around as a fucking babysitter.
Yeah, she has to have things her way.
It's just so manipulative.
Yeah, that's bad.
If she couldn't find a sitter, she would make 6-year-old Christy babysit her 5- and 1-year-old siblings.
No.
The neighbors reported seeing the young children outside, barefoot and unsupervised, even in the winter months. Sometimes they would come to the neighbors' houses asking for food because they were so hungry and nobody had fed them.
That is so sad.
I hate it. One of the neighbors became so concerned she wrote Diane a letter saying it was dangerous to leave the kids alone. An enraged Diane showed up at the woman's house with Cheryl and yelled at her child saying, "You're such a bad little girl. If you don't obey mommy, you deserve to be killed."
What? She went to a neighbor's house with her kid to say that to her kid in front of the neighbor?
Yeah.
What the
As if it's the child's fault for her leaving the kid on her. Like, what?
Because she asked for food?
Yeah, or was seen. I don't know.
Outside. Ah.
It's
hate
not
her.
her fault. She's hungry.
Jesus.
Then in 1981, our Mother of the Year gets the call to become a surrogate and is successfully inseminated.
No.
She prego again.
Was it... Okay, I'm sorry if I'm uneducated, but is it still her egg?
I think so.
Or... Okay.
I think in this case, it's his sperm being inseminated into her.
Okay. So it's not like a husband-wife couple...
Well, it is a husband-wife. They want a... Well, maybe it is. I don't know in this case, because I think you can have it... do
Both
it more than
ways.
one way.
Yeah.
But it sounded in this case, back in the 80s, I don't know.
Well, because, okay, sorry for my reference, but, okay, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, okay? Their last two was with the surrogate, but it was her egg and his sperm into the surrogate's body.
I don't know if you could do that in the 1980s, or if it...
Oh, interesting.
Or if they didn't have the technology yet, or if it had to just be the sperm being, inseminated into her and it would be her egg. I don't know if it was half of her DNA, or if it was...
Yeah, I'm curious.
It was for a married couple.
Interesting.
I bet it would say in the book. I'd probably have to go back and read it, but either way, she's pregnant.
Okay, yeah, either
her
way.
fave. And she didn't let that stop her from carrying on with the men at the post office where she worked. Diane steadily worked her way through her coworkers, exclusively preferring to go after married men. She's just another level of like, what?
It's like a game to her. She's like, what can I get away with?
Or like, what's the biggest challenge?
A married man.
She was extremely flirtatious and pursued men aggressively. And she had like a cute figure, like she's cute.
She was attractive,
yeah.
For sure.
Her sexual partner said she was kind of vicious in bed, though. She had this tendency to scratch a man's back until they bled. And then she would just laugh if they complained.
Okay.
Her sexcapades came to a halt in May, though, when she was to deliver the surrogate child. The birth was perfect, and she willingly handed the child over to its parents and accepted the $10,000. Couldn't wait to do it again.
I wonder how those parents feel knowing that now. Oh, man.
Ooh, that's true.
And that kid knowing that you were in the body of a murder.
Sorry. Don't give it away. I mean, we're doing a terrible job of
I know.
being
Sorry.
unbiased. I'm sure everyone understands.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't think about that. That's
fucked.
That's wild.
I wonder about them. Okay.
But then she met Robert Knickerbocker. He went by Nick. You'll remember the tattoo.
Oh, Knickerbocker Nick.
This is the Knickerbocker. Goes by Nick. This guy was different for Diane. I mean, he was similar to the other men she pursued in that they worked together and he was married. But Diane became obsessed with him and decided she was going to marry him. She just needed to get him out of being married to his pesky wife. Mm-hmm. However, there was a snag in her plans. Nick was very vocal and adamant about not wanting to be a daddy to her kids. He didn't hate them or anything, but he did not want to be their father. Diane responded with, I don't want a daddy. I want someone to love me and take care of me and care about me.
It's all about me.
And like my kids, but not be a part of them. So she's telling Nick.
I want somebody to like my kids, but not to be a part of them.
Yeah, so she's just like, you'll just be there for me. Like, the kids will be there, but
like don't act like their father. I don't want you to be close to them.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Just be around.
Just be there for me.
Okay.
The affair continued through the summer of 1982 until Nick found out Diane had given him gonorrhea.
Ugh.
And then he turned around and gave it to his wife.
No, shitty people doing shitty things.
So he had to fess up to the affair, and he and his wife had to go to the clinic on his birthday to be treated for a sexually transmitted disease. Yikes, that is fucking rough. He told his wife everything and promised to end the affair.
I would be so pissed.
Can you imagine if you got a sexually transmitted disease from your cheating husband? Like, I'd cut his dick off.
Right? Like, you're already so pissed off about cheating, but then he gave you a disease from it. And then what?
Oh, I'd be so mad. Pissed. So he promised to end the affair, but of course he did not. Diane was relentless. She sent him letters.
Because she was obsessed.
She's obsessed with him. She called him constantly, even at home. She even had the balls to leave messages for him with Nick's wife.
Ugh.
I know.
She really grosses me out with the boundaries she crosses.
It's a lot.
Oof.
The affair continued into 1983, and in February, it seemed like Diane almost had him. He had moved out of his place, but Diane was just too suffocating with her constant need for love and validation. Nick went back to his wife once again, and Diane asked for a transfer from Chandler, Arizona to Oregon to be closer to her parents. But in true toxic fashion, Nick started sleeping with her again until she transferred to Oregon. Diane tried to cancel the transfer, but it was already done.
He's like, oh, you're leaving, so let me get a few more in before you go.
Just a couple weeks of banging, and then you'll go.
Ugh.
She had already gotten the rose tattoo with Nick's name below it and urged him to get a matching one.
She crazy.
On a drunken evening, he finally caved and got the rose tattoo on his arm, but stopped short of putting Diane's name below it.
Smart.
And then the time came for Diane to move to Oregon. She drove there with her kids, listening to the Duran Duran's Hungry Like the Wolf.
That's right. Gross. Okay.
On repeat, which apparently is like a really weird music video that I have not seen, but...
Is it? I just remember like playing it in the courtroom.
Yeah, it's that song. I guess the music video is like, it's like a woman that's like half wolf and she's sexy and she has sex with a man, and then at the end she's like orgasming.
Ew. What were the 80s?
I don't know, man. But I guess Diane feels that is her spirit animal. So, let's see. Yep, so she's playing this tape, having a great time, thinking she and Nick would eventually be together in Oregon after he left his wife for good. Mm-hmm. It wasn't to be, however. Once Diane was gone, Nick felt like he could finally think straight without her incessant, compulsive talking. And he went back to his wife. This wife is very...
Forgiving?
No fucking way, man.
Dang.
Nick ended things with Diane over the phone, but she refused to believe him. even after he stopped accepting her mail and blocked her calls. While in Oregon, Diane had started her job as a letter carrier in Cottage Grove, and she often wrote in her diary about how much she missed Nick and longed for him to be there, writing him letters she didn't send. In one of the letters, she wrote, quote, "I have 3 beautiful children that I love more than anything else. I think I even love them more than you now."
I can't.
She wrote that.
She wrote that. That's sad and gross, and I don't know how to feel, and I'm just shook.
I think I even love them more than you now.
I think I even love them, my children.
More than you, a man I've known for like maybe 2 years.
What a diss. Oh, I hate her. Okay, sorry.
So fucked up. Mere weeks after she wrote that, one of her children would be dead and the other 2 gravely injured.
So gross.
And before we continue, I think we should do a quick
Please.
break. All right, welcome back. Mm-hmm. So now that we have talked about Diane's very interesting past, we can get back to the murder investigation.
Okay.
Back at the hospital, the 2 surviving kids were now stable, but sadly, both would end up with lifelong disabilities from their injuries. Little Christy suffered a stroke after being basically dead and brought back, leaving one of her arms limp and paralyzed, and much of her ability to speak had been lost. Oh. She would undergo speech therapy to regain her voice, although she still had some slurred words and difficulty articulating what she was trying to say sometimes. But I mean,
that's rough.
The fact that she was able to like recover and speak at all is
seriously
amazing. While she was still unconscious in the hospital, Diane visited her room and spoke with the doctor. She told him she knew Christy was brain dead and she wanted him to pull the plug.
She said that.
Diane said that.
Ugh.
The doctor stared at her incredulously and sternly told her he would do no such thing, as Christy's condition was stable and she was certainly not brain dead.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was still thinking that we were actually talking about the sadly actual dead kid.
Oh, no.
So that's disturbing.
Yeah, she went into Christy's room, saw that she was unconscious, and was like, I know she's brain dead. Just pull the plug.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That is just like, and the doctor was like, yeah.
0 to 60.
Knew that she did it after that. Like,
of course.
How could you?
Who says that?
God. As for little Danny, the bullet had done too much damage to his spine, and he was paralyzed from the chest down.
Oh, it was the chest down. That sucks.
At 3 years old.
That's so sad.
He could still use his arms, but he would be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Bummer. Diane blamed the doctors for his inability to walk and kept repeating that she knew he could walk if she could just love him enough. It's like, shut the fuck up, Diane.
God.
Even though Diane's visits to her kids were short and awkward, sometimes she would whisper things to them. The prosecutor assigned to the case, a man named Fred Hughey, who had no children of his own, became instantly attached and very protective of the children. When he wasn't investigating their case, he was silently sitting by their bedsides, and he had Diane pegged as guilty from the start. Mm-hmm. Did not like her one bit. Mm-hmm. It didn't help that when Christy was awake and her mom walked into the room, Christy's vitals would skyrocket.
Yeah, that don't lie.
Yeah, the little girl was seemingly terrified of her mother.
That's so sad to like see it on a machine.
I know, you just see her heart just skyrocket.
Jesus.
Oh, poor thing.
It's sad.
In the beginning, it seemed that the whole city was behind Diane. Springfield was horrified that there was some bushy-haired crazy man running around attacking women and children. Mm-hmm. And the sympathy for Diane poured in from all over the country. She was also no stranger to any reporter who would listen to her. She did countless news interviews for TV and print, repeating the same strange, dramatic story in all of them. However, her interviews became less sweet and angrier as the detectives on the case started poking holes in her story and began focusing solely on her as the murderer. Mm-hmm. So things were not going as she had planned. Especially now that Nick wanted nothing to do with her and had been interviewed extensively by the detectives. He told them that he had seen the .22 pistol in Diane's trunk before she left for Oregon, and he believed she was capable of killing her children to be with him.
Wow.
He was naturally horrified, as was his wife, who still stood by him.
Okay.
She's a fucking saint. On June 13th, an interesting tip came in from a man named Joseph Inman, who was driving on Old Mohawk Road that evening, May 19th. He told the detectives it was just after 10 p.m. when he was forced to slow down to a crawl. There was a red car with Arizona plates in front of him on the road, and it was only traveling about 5 to 7 miles per hour. He followed the car for about 2 to 3 minutes, but the car never picked up speed. It wasn't swerving, it wasn't driving erratically, it was just slow. He finally decided to pass it, but couldn't see any passengers when he drove by. This incident happened less than a mile from the shooting site, but the witness said he never saw anyone else, nor heard frantic cries for help, just a red car driving at a snail's pace. Which is hardly the frantic mother racing to the hospital Diane had described herself as.
Right? I mean, that's like painfully slow to drive that slow.
And it's not, I don't know what the speed limit is there, but it's at least 35, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. The detectives had also recovered 22 shell casings from Diane's car that had the same extractor marks on them as some of the bullets recovered from Diane's duplex. Apparently, when Diane was angry, she had a habit of unloading and reloading her guns with ammo, not realizing that each gun left its own special marks on the bullets. So this was all pretty damning evidence.
Yeah.
But the detectives worried it wouldn't be enough for a conviction. As much as they hated it, they knew this case depended on the eyewitness testimony of little Christy. But would she be strong enough to stand up to her mother on the stand?
I can't even imagine.
I mean, even the thought of putting a child through something so harrowing made the investigators sick. But the idea of Diane Downs walking free was even worse.
Yeah, and you're asking, like, this poor little child who is terrified of her mother to, like, literally in court, which is terrifying.
Just to be in court.
And in front of so many people.
And now she has, like, a speech problem.
Yeah, and to speak against her mother.
Who's there.
And she's terrified of. Oh. And she's 8, 9?
Yeah. She was 8 when it happened, but she will be 9 when she testifies.
That's crazy.
It's so young.
I know.
As the investigation continued on, Diane became more and more angry with the detectives, accusing them of focusing on the wrong person. She argued if she had really wanted to kill her kids, don't they think she would have done a good job of it? Why would she have driven them to the hospital if she wanted them dead? She repeated these claims to any reporter who would listen.
Just still a wacky thing to say.
Right? Don't you think I would have done a good job of it?
And if I were to kill my children, just a hypothetical thought here.
Oh, I mean, there's tons of footage out there if you want to watch her interviews. Like, you could find them online.
It's cold.
I'll try and post some stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty wild to watch. Diane, as usual, talks compulsively through the interviews, trying to paint herself as the loving mother who was a victim. But the way she spoke constantly about herself, rarely mentioning the children or their feelings, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And they were beginning to see through her endless chatter, and the public started to turn against her.
Didn't she also have, like, the same face? Like, I feel like she never had expression. It was, like, very stoic face.
Yeah,
all the time.
Always seemed to keep her emotions under wraps, like, tightly.
Yeah. But, like, not even, like, a twitch of the eyebrow or a smirk of the lips.
She's creepy dead eyes. Like, if you watch her interviews, her eyes they're almost hypnotic in the way that they're big, and, like, she has a lot of white below her pupil. Like, her iris kind of floats up towards the top of her eye.
Interesting.
Which it gives it, like, this weird dead eye look.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Look at that in her photos. It's weird. I think she had green eyes, and people said sometimes they looked yellow. I was like,
ooh,
hungry like the wolf. Yeah. So I'll definitely post pics. And she's kind of a chameleon. She's one of those people, if you look at a picture, you're like, oh, she's a little rough. But then you look at other pictures, and she's like, oh, yeah, I can totally see it. She's, like, really pretty. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. So she would often complain about how bad her arm hurt and how bad she had it. In an interview with
poor arm.
with KEZI, Diane retold her dramatic story once again, now adding that she didn't stop or fight the man from shooting her kids because at that moment she snapped back to her childhood and all the pain men had caused her, as well as her entrapment by society. It's
okay.
Cool. When she did finally snap out of it and tried to fight back, she was shot in the arm. And she said, quote, "Everybody says, you sure are lucky. Well, I don't feel very lucky. I couldn't tie my damn shoes for about 2 months. It was very painful. It's still painful. I have a steel plate in my arm. I will for 1.5 years. The scar is going to be there forever. I'm going to remember that night for the rest of my life, whether I want to or not. I don't think I was very lucky. I think my kids were lucky. If I had been shot the way they were, we all would have been dead. Well, except for maybe Danny." The things that come out of her mouth.
Yes, that's one of her famous quotes of just...
I think my kids are lucky. What
who are paralyzed now and...
Dead.
Yeah, one of them's fucking dead.
It's just mind-blowing that she doesn't see how she's coming across.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry you're going to have a scar on your arm. People don't get scars. It's a fucking deal.
I couldn't tie my shoes for a month.
Oh my God, I have a steel plate in my arm.
Bitch, I had 2. Shut the fuck up.
You had a long pin in your arm.
Yeah, you didn't have that.
Yeah, she's massively messed up.
Yeah, it's ugh. The interviews, you just got to watch them.
I don't remember. Yeah, truck. What like the reporter reaction would be or was. How do you
I remember seeing her face, and I feel like they do a pretty good job of just keeping a straight face.
Yeah.
So
I'd probably be so shocked that I probably could just keep a straight face and just...
I feel like my mouth would hang open.
Yeah, I'm really bad with my mouth hanging open. Crazy.
In another strange video readily available to watch online, Diane is shown reenacting the attack for the detectives. Mm-hmm. Her arm is in a sling, and she is shown laughing her way through the reenactment. And this is done mere days after the attack.
It's so disturbing.
She's laughing through it.
She's just so casual.
It's just insane. So,
I mean, how is she smart? Well, I mean, I know, you can, she's smart, but then also she's so, mentally ill. But, how do you just not even for a little bit think about what comes out of your mouth
or
and
how
what
it's coming across, or how people are perceiving it?
Since your goal is to fool everyone and convince them of this trauma, wouldn't you have a little bit more acting guts? I mean, I don't...
It's all so strange.
Very weird.
Yeah, and I feel like her lawyer tries to defend her odd behavior, and he relates it back to her child abuse and all that, but
sure,
it's just and the other thing is they often say she has this superiority to her where she thinks that she's smarter and better than everyone. So yeah. I don't know, I think she thought she was doing a great job.
Yeah, probably. It's just so crazy how that mind works.
The disconnect of just you don't realize
disconnect.
How sick that looks.
Oh, especially the things that she's saying are just really, really bad.
My kids are lucky. Dear God. Okay. So all the evidence against Diane gave the state more than enough leeway to remove the children from Diane's custody. And once they were well enough, they were placed together in a very loving and stable foster home where they made great improvements to their recovery and mental health. Christy would also be placed in therapy where she made substantial progress in being able to talk about what happened that night. Her therapist never wanted to push her, though, and told Christy during their sessions to write down on a piece of paper who had hurt her and her siblings. She would seal it in an envelope, and at the end of the session, if she wasn't ready to share the info, she would throw the envelope into the fireplace and watch it burn. This happened several times, but as the months drug on, Christy would eventually stop burning the envelopes, though she wasn't ready for anyone to read the contents yet. Diane, meanwhile, was doing herself no favors, as she couldn't keep her fucking mouth shut. During an interrogation with the detectives, she became enraged when they continued to poke holes in her story, and her story began to change. At one point, she said she knew the attacker, but he told her to keep her mouth shut or he would kill her. Then there was actually 2 attackers, but she couldn't see the second guy because he was wearing a ski mask. She was all over the place. She's like desperately trying to talk her way out of the situation, but in reality, she was only digging herself a deeper hole.
Yeah, the more details you add,
the more times you change your story,
you can't keep up with your own lies.
Yeah, and then they're like, why wouldn't you have said that in the beginning? Why are you only just now saying, like...
Yeah.
Later, her lawyer would actually call the detectives to tell them that Diane had simply been relating a dream to them that she had had, and the original story was still the right one.
Okay.
Okay. It's a fun dream you had. So Diane became depressed in September and started drinking. She was very lonely and began making a plan to find herself another man. Because what do we know about Diane? She likes to be pregnant. And boy, was she good at it. And if she couldn't see her other kids, she was just going to have to make herself another one.
Oh my God, what is her deal?
There's so many deals. I think that's like one of the other things. Psychiatrists had a really tough time pinning her down to like any one diagnosis. They're like, she is so strange.
She's
like
all over the place.
She's so many different things. It's hard to diagnose her.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. So Diane was working for the post office as a letter carrier and began scoping out the men on her route for the perfect unknowing sperm donor. She chose a teacher named Matt Jensen and set out to seduce him. It didn't take long. He knew who she was and felt weird about seeing her, so he kept it on the down low. When she started to get obsessive with him, he began to distance himself, but Diane wasn't pregnant yet. So one night, she shows up at his house with a bottle of whiskey and a bunch of weed. One thing leads to another, and bing, bang, baby time. She's pregnant again.
One time. It takes one time.
I think they slept together a total of 3 times. But
it was her first try to do it.
Yeah, she's like, uh-oh, gotta get this in before he...
Gotta get this in.
Literally.
That's... Wow. Yeah, she's unfortunately very fertile.
She's the fertilest of fertile. It is Fertile Myrtle City. Insanity. She did tell Matt after she found out she was pregnant, and he was furious. He felt completely used, but Diane told him not to worry. She didn't want anything else from him, so what's the big deal? It's so twisted. Like, she doesn't, in her mind.
Yeah, she's so cool. She's like, don't worry, I don't want your money or a thing. I don't
want anything. Why are you mad? Why are you mad that I tricked you into having a child that, like, you had no choice about?
That
like,
I'm bringing another human to this world
with
because
your DNA.
I'm selfish and, yeah.
It's so twisted. In another interview with the press, Diane told reporters about her pregnancy, explaining, quote, I got pregnant because I miss Christy, and I miss Danny, and I miss Cheryl so much. I'm never going to see Cheryl on Earth again. You can't replace children, but you can replace the effect they give you. And they give me love. They give me satisfaction. They give me stability. They give me a reason to live and a reason to be happy. And that's gone. They took it from me. But children are so easy to conceive.
I can't listen to her anymore. I
her
can't.
Through me.
Wow.
Children are so easy to conceive. It's just so easy. Bitch. Okay. But even Diane's new pregnancy wouldn't stop the detectives hot on her heels. It was now February 1984, and a secret indictment had finally been handed down. The detectives and prosecutors were at long last satisfied with the evidence they had and felt that Christy was now ready to take the stand and tell the world what really happened. The charges against Diane were murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of assault in the first degree. On February 28th, Diane was finally arrested and booked into the Lane County Jail to await trial.
While she's pregnant?
Yes.
Do we know how far along at this point?
She's due in June.
And this happened when? February?
End of February. So she's pretty pregnant.
April, May, June. Yeah.
She's definitely showing. She's
at least halfway or more.
Yeah. You can see the pictures at trial, and
yeah,
she's hugely pregnant.
Oh, wow. Which makes this case just so much more sensational.
I know, because then it's like people feel bad for her because she's pregnant. And so it's like, is she trying to use that?
Yeah, and I don't really think I've ever heard of another case where, like, the suspect or murderer on trial is pregnant.
Hugely pregnant. Like, I'm sure it's happened, but like this, but when you're on trial for murdering a children, like,
and you're pregnant. Yeah. That's so wild.
It's very wild. Okay. Want to know a fun fact?
Yes.
While in jail, Diane would become pen pals with Randy Woodfield, a.k.a. the I-5 killer. Not joking.
I had no idea.
Yeah. When she found out he was a serial killer and rapist, it didn't seem to faze her, and the pair continued to exchange explicit letters.
He was naughty letters?
Yeah, he was super turned on by her being pregnant. It's all gross. It's so gross. And he was another serial killer that operated in our area.
Yeah.
And like up to California, I think.
Yeah. I think there was an episode or a few
podcasts,
on, well, no, I'm thinking of like that Netflix show, like Catching Killer, I think, where they actually talked to like the police officers and detectives. It's really good.
I think I've seen that a while ago.
I think you said saw the first season.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, they become pen pals.
Of course, like two peas in a pod.
Who wouldn't?
Ew.
It's so weird.
Had no idea.
I know. That's just like, slip that in there. Okay. Okay. May 8th arrived. And this is just so close to the anniversary as well. It's
so crazy.
So May 8th arrived and the trial was set to begin. By now, Diane was massively pregnant. She was due in early June, and her condition only added to the frenzy of the news cycle. Mm-hmm. People lined up outside the Eugene courthouse, hoping to get a seat. The courtroom was packed with reporters and curious citizens, all morbidly drawn to the horrific case. Mm-hmm. The prosecution and defense presented their witnesses. The defense was obviously sticking with the bushy-haired stranger theory, but they had few witnesses to back this story. The prosecution pointed to all the inconsistencies with Diane's story and called Joseph Inman to the stand, who had followed Diane's slow car that night on Old Mohawk Road. Mm-hmm. Detectives had narrowed down the window of time between when the shooting happened, when Inman had seen the car, and when Diane had actually arrived at the hospital. By their calculations, after Inman passed her on the road, Diane was only 4.5 miles from the hospital. But it had somehow taken her 22 minutes to get there.
That's forever.
22 minutes.
Those
and
poor kids.
Knowing the route, it's not a lot of traffic.
And it's straight, isn't it? It's straight shoot.
Pretty much. And there's not a ton of lights, and there's not going to be a lot of people on the road. So
no, and it's nighttime.
It's night.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
So gross. So she had deliberately driven as slowly as she could to ensure her children died on the way to the hospital. Unfortunately for Diane, though, 2 of them had survived, despite her request to pull the plug on one of them. And she was about to take the stand. Christy was now 9 years old and had been preparing for months to testify. But it didn't stop her from shaking and crying on the stand.
She's a 9-year-old baby.
I can't imagine having to go through something like that. And her mom's like right there staring at her. I guess they both cried when they saw each other too. She's like, oh. So the room was dead quiet as Fred Hughie. I always want to say Huggy. It's not his name.
That's a diaper.
Fred Huggies. Well, it's Hugi. Hughie. He gently questioned Christy about the events of that evening. So I'm just going to read some of the court transcripts.
Okay.
And just I pieced them together to shorten it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so happy.
So Christy explained that they had gone to see Heather about the horse and had stayed to play with the animal for a little bit. And then they had gotten in the car and left.
Right.
She remembered the Duran Duran cassette playing in the car. The song Hungry Like the Wolf came on, and her mom pulled the car over on the dark, abandoned road. When the car, or this is a quote from Hughie. When the car stopped, did you see any other people around? She answered no. Did you see any person standing on the road? She answered no. When the car stopped, what did your mom do? She got out and she pulled the lever that went to the trunk. After your mom pushed the lever that went to the trunk, were you able to see her do anything after? And she said, I didn't look back. He said, okay, did you see her come back to the car? And she said, yeah. What did you see then? She said, she kneeled down and then Christy began crying.
Yeah.
But she bravely pushed on and said, she shot Cheryl. And you saw that happen? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Was the music still playing? Yeah.
Oh.
What happened then? She leaned over to the back seat and she shot Danny. What happened then? What happened after Danny got shot? She standed up and went to the back of the seat and she took a pause to cry. And then Hughie asked her, do you remember when you got shot? She said, yeah. And he said, who shot you? And she said, my mom.
Ugh, I have chills all over my body. I hate it.
And I'm like, don't cry.
I know. I'm like, don't you fucking cry.
I'm gonna fucking cry.
You do it.
Okay.
Wow. That's so intense and sad. Mm-hmm. She literally had to be forced to relive it.
I know.
Oh, and that song just makes it so extra creepy.
She's never going to be able to hear that song again and not just be traumatized.
It's like an upbeat song.
Yeah.
It's like a bop.
Yeah.
It's a bop. I mean, I don't know if you mentioned this or whatever, but like the image of Diane Downs in the courtroom when they play the song.
Oh, I'll get to it.
Okay, I won't say nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So creepy.
So Hughie asked Christy if she still loved her mom, and she tearfully answered that yes, she did.
Oh, that's why you can't just casually say that. That's so sad. That is so sad.
The complicated feelings of this little girl, and they talked about how she was the oldest, and she always felt like everything was her fault, and so she took. Yeah, it was just hard for her, obviously, but so. Christy would also be questioned by the defense, but her testimony had pretty much sealed the deal.
For sure.
Diane's story did make sense, and Hughie pointed to the fact that Diane had only sustained a shot to the arm and then had taken the time to neatly wrap it in a beach towel before slowly driving to the hospital with a car full of dying and dead children.
That's true. What an interesting fact to point out.
Yeah, I think they actually brought the towel out and they had figured out exactly how she had folded it. And she had taken the time to fold it. It was a beach towel and she folded it into
it's large.
Yeah, a perfect triangle and then neatly wrapped her arm. Or they think she put her arm on the towel, then shot herself so that the blood wouldn't go anywhere but the towel, and then just wrapped her arm up.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Diane also didn't do herself any favors by taking the stand in her own defense. She smiled.
Stupid. I'm surprised her lawyers would allow that.
She was up there for 4.5 days.
Whoa.
Girl likes to talk. So she smiled and laughed at inappropriate moments, further alienating herself from the jurors, which I think there was 10 women and 2 men on the jury, and a lot of them were mothers.
Yeah.
There was also an extremely odd moment when the song Hungry Like the Wolf was played in court and Diane started smiling, singing along, and tapping her foot to the music, not affected by the traumatic memories you would assume that song would bring to her.
Right? It's so creepy. She's bobbing her head around.
Yeah, she's just having a great time while the song's playing in court and people are just looking at her.
She was singing along to it or something?
Yeah, she's mouthing the words and just having a great time.
Fucked up.
It's so fucked. I guess she would also had this habit of dragging her nails across her belly. She almost, not her face anymore, but she would just rub her belly with these long nails.
Her big pregnant belly.
Yeah. Ooh, creepy. Psychiatrists would also testify that they had diagnosed Diane with narcissistic, histrionic, and antisocial personality disorders. I think even one of those would be bad news, but she got 3. In a dramatic reveal to the court, Christie's psychiatrist was called to the stand and handed the still sealed envelopes from his sessions with Christie. He was asked to open the envelope on the stand and read the name of the person Christie had wrote down as her attacker.
Wow.
She had written one word: Mom.
That is damning.
Dramatic. Wow. When the trial had finally drawn to a conclusion, the jurors were released to deliberate. On June 17th, the verdict was in. Diane had been found guilty on all counts, and for once, she didn't have much to say. Elizabeth Diane Downs was sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years. She had her baby shortly after the trial, and the baby girl was placed up for adoption. I think her name's now Rebecca. I have seen her do some interviews on TV shows and like podcasts after she found out who her mother was, which is just horrifying.
Right, because she didn't know for a while.
I can't even imagine.
Oh my gosh.
So many feelings. Diane would actually escape from prison.
What?
Yeah. So this is why we were talking about where she was in prison, and I told you she moved, and this is why. So she was imprisoned in Salem, but she escaped for 10 whole days.
10 days?
Yeah. So people were terrified that she was going to come after her kids because she wasn't even that far away from where they were.
I forgot this.
Yeah. So she escaped, but she got recaptured, and they transferred her to a California prison where she is still at to this day. Mm-hmm. She's still alive. As for Christy and Danny, in a heartwarming turn of events, Fred Hughie and his wife adopted them both in 1986.
That's right.
He's so precious.
So cute.
He was just kind of the stoic lawyer, and he didn't have any kids, but he loved them so much.
It's like, I have to take these poor little kids.
Yeah.
Oh.
The two kids are obviously grown now, and Christy has kids of her own. And she named her daughter after her sister Cheryl. And despite the odds, they seem to be doing just fine.
Wow.
And I don't know about you guys, but I want to be done talking about Diane Downs. Yeah. So I'm
like on the verge of tears this whole episode.
I know, me too. It's so emotional. I think it's like extra emotional just because it was here and we know the places and you can like connect to it so much.
Yeah, I mean, because it's just like, yeah, you can picture it so much more vividly.
So clear.
You know the places.
Yes.
Yeah, it's extra creepy for sure.
Do you want to do a creative curse?
Oh, this bit.
If anyone deserves it.
I feel like we've done that. Raging ass clown.
Oh.
Is that good?
That's not bad. She is raging.
She is an ass clown.
Perfect. Diane Downs, raging ass clown. Almost rhymes.
It does, actually. That's funny.
What are we doing now?
All right, let's point out our favorite city of the week.
Yes.
And that goes to Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. Thank you. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm in like hello, hi New York, hi Brooklyn.
New York. What? I didn't know you guys liked us.
I'm like blushing a
little bit. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
If you want to be City of the Week, binge.
Listen.
Tell your friends.
In the location that you are at.
Yes.
That's how that works.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. I don't have anything else.
Nah, I think we should just like bounce.
Let's be done for now.
Ever. Yeah. Thanks for listening. I had a great time. It was a great episode, Abby.
Thank you.
You did a very good job for such a big one in our hometown.
Thank you. I hope I did it justice, and I hope you guys liked it.
Yeah, I mean, that's some balls. So kudos to you.
Thanks. And I guess I'll just go with good up and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. All right, for my sources, I read the book Small Sacrifices by Anne Rule. I also went to Wikipedia, allthat'sinteresting.com, abcnews.com. Our music is by Broke for Free and Matt Edwards, and we are edited by Michael.
All right. Should I list our social needs?
Please do.
We have a lot of our things at Anxious and Afraid, the pod. So that's our handle for both of our Facebook page and group, along with our Instagram and Gmail.
We have a Twitter at AA the pod.
You can support us on patreon.com/anxious and afraid.
If you do that, you'll get some pretty nice perks. You get ad-free episodes that are released a whole day early, and you get a free sticker.
You can also support us for free if you can't do any of that by leaving a rate review. You subscribe to the show, tell your friends.
Yeah, we would appreciate all of it too right now.